Used to banish pain, to heal sickness, to make the body whole again. Others have taken advantage of it to seduce the naive, the anxious, the desperate.
Creating these hips.
Sometimes false hopes are raised.
Burning this arthritis right out of your body.
The science of brain and mind is now engaged in separating fantasy from fact, and finding out whether the state of mind can influence pain, and even perhaps affect our health and well-being.
Nearly a century ago, Sir William Osler, Professor of Medicine at Oxford and perhaps the finest clinician of his time, wrote, "The care of tuberculosis depends more on what the patient has in his head than what he has in his chest. The ability of the human mind to soothe pain and heal wounds is the stuff of fairy tales, but it lies at the heart of the relationship between doctor and patient too. If you believe, as I do, that the mind is a product of the brain, how can it act back on the body that makes it? That question challenges our understanding of the relationship between body and mind, but it's a question that science has started to answer. We begin with pain, the most mysterious of sensations, the messenger of injury and affliction. What is pain, and why do we have to suffer it?
This is Sarah. She's 7 years old.
I hear some bones. The foot bone connected to the leg bone connected to the knee bone.
Sarah's leg is in plaster to protect a wound on her knee from further damage. Her arm is bandaged because of a bruise on her elbow.
The neck bone connected to the head bone. Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
Sarah needs this special care because she was born with an extraordinary deficit. She's incapable of feeling pain.
Oh, hear the word of the Lord.
She has a defect of the nerve fibers that normally transmit signals about pain.
For what? No, Katie's not going to push you, honey. Mom's going to stay by you.
The pathway of pain has failed.
Are you
Sarah?
my friends? Yeah. You two are my friends?
As a result, things other children do every day are terribly risky. Her mother must stay with her whenever she goes out to play.
We have to be very careful to monitor her environment so those things that hurt she doesn't encounter. Even the sidewalk in the summer is a threat. It's hot, and if she stays in one place, she could burn her feet.
She's as lively as any 7-year-old, but has to beware of even the smallest bruise.
Injuries are a problem not only because of the injury, but also because she doesn't heal very fast. She's not careful. Pain doesn't tell her to stop moving around or stop being active, and so she doesn't protect her body, and it takes a much longer time for her to heal.
Grab the big one. Grab the big one. Here you go. You got it? Huh? Okay. That's enough. No. Get down.
No.
Yes.
No.
She doesn't get cues from her environment the way the rest of us do.
No.
As far as Sarah's concerned, there's nothing bad in her environment.
Then you stay on the other side so she
That means that
doesn't get
everything in the environment could cause her harm,
Okay, that's high enough there now. Hey, where are you going now?
but because she has no pain, she's not afraid of
Back
anything.
down.
Whoa!
There you go. Okay.
Other children
You want to try the other side?
will learn they've done something wrong because they've been hurt, because they've been spanked. We can spank her, but it doesn't do any good. It might relieve some of our frustrations, but it certainly doesn't stop Sarah. Who gets chicken?
Okay, Dave, should we sit down too?
Sarah?
For all animals, avoiding harm is crucial to a strategy of survival. And pain is part of that strategy.
Let's check. There's no. I'm gonna break it up. Be real careful. It's still hot.
Pain is information.
Blow on it.
It demands attention.
Blow on it.
It signals injury and the need for recovery.
Good
It's so
girl.
important that vast numbers of nerve fibers are devoted to it, a system that's separate from those for other sensations.
What you got in your mouth?
Ice.
Oh, ice. As far as we know, she has all the other normal physical feelings except pain. You
No. Let's go see a plant.
Can I have a hug?
Sarah teaches us that we need a system of pain in order to survive. But for most of us, pain can become intolerable when we're ill. Many hope that they can find help to combat pain and illness. Recently, I joined a pilgrimage of the sick, going to Lourdes in southern France. Sylvia had been told by her doctor 8 years ago she was terminally ill.
He didn't say very much, really. He just said, you won't be able to go to Lourdes with me in September, as you won't be here in September. Because we're very friendly, as my doctor and I. And I asked him where I was going, and he said, well, you just won't be here. So, and that was it. I just accepted it from then. I mean, you've got to accept these things, haven't you?
So you accepted that you only had 6 months to live?
There was nothing I could do about it.
But there was something you did about it.
Yes. I came to Lourdes, and whilst I was in Lourdes, I was in St. Bernadette's Hospital in the Domain. In fact, it had only opened the week before, or the fortnight before. And I used to always go into the little chapel. And this particular day, well, it was evening, it was the night before we came away, and I went in and I just sat. And there's a little grotto of Our Lady, and I just sat and I cried and cried. And I don't know how many people was in. I never said a prayer or anything, but something at that moment said, don't worry, you're going to be all right. And I've been smashing ever since.
Sylvia believes that Lourdes has helped her to hold cancer at bay for 8 years. Erica has multiple sclerosis. She hopes that Lourdes will help her too. How does she face life with this disease?
It's sort of all geared up and just get out and appreciate every day that's given to you. And it was sort of every day is a bonus. Every day that comes that I'm well, I think, oh, another notch in the bedpost, I've done it again. And it's really happy to come to a place like Lourdes and find out there's a lot of people worse off than yourself.
Certainly pilgrims feel from the start that the atmosphere will do them good.
The emotion you get from all the people there for the same reason. And it's just a fantastic, fantastic feeling. And you go and you're singing your songs, and although it's in other foreign languages, and it's just an incredible feeling. And I wish, everybody had the opportunity to go. After being diagnosed that I had MS, I was determined then not to fall, and I just wanted to get a degree. And at the time it was a degree in anything. But I got into Leicester Polytechnic and I was into ceramics, and from ceramics I specialised in glass because I was determined, even though I had a lot of hiccups all the way along. I had a relapse, but I was determined to carry on. Looking back on it, it was always a bit late that I got into what I was doing for the degree show, but I did it. I was determined to get through, and it was only 3 weeks ago that I've got through and got the results. I was really pleased. I celebrated here in Thanksgiving to Our Lady.
Erica's faith shows in her art, and it's very important to her in her battle with multiple sclerosis. And Sylvia believes that faith has given her strength and cured her pain.
When we came back, I said, I haven't taken any depression tablets. It's all left me, all the depression, and I haven't been depressed since, or, had any pain since.
Could we ever explain such things in scientific terms? To try to answer that question, we must look at the mechanism of pain. This is the sound of a nerve firing in response to pain. Swedish researcher Erik Torebjörk is studying the fibers that carry pain signals in a healthy volunteer.
With the electrode now in the nerve, I will start to stimulate electrically through that electrode, and I will now allow electrical current to pass through these needles and to see if that evokes any sensation. Do you feel anything?
No, not at the moment.
Do you feel
Yes,
anything?
now I feel something. Ow, this is painful.
What do you feel?
It's a burning. I feel the sensation in the foot, above the toes.
Can you tell me where it is? Where does it hurt?
Torebjörk is trying to define the area of skin served by a single nerve.
Is it a large area?
It's a very small area. It's, I would say it's on the size of a coin, a small coin.
Okay, I will mark that area.
The idea is to define just how far each nerve fibre extends. Torabjörk has found that the brain can be remarkably precise in how it interprets information about pain.
Is this correct?
Yes.
The pain message is transmitted as series of nerve impulses, which are carried by nerve fibers from the periphery to the central nervous system. And it is the number of impulses per fiber and the number of fibers activated which will announce the amount of painful stimulus and which is then interpreted by the brain as intensity of pain.
He can also record the responses of the very same nerve fibre that he stimulated.
I will try to map the receptive field of this unit. There. I can mark the spot there. Again. There. This is going to hurt, perhaps. So I apply the match against the skin. Obviously, that was painful.
Pain signals are carried from the body to the brain by two sets of nerve fibres. One sends a rapid, brief signal, a sharp warning that triggers withdrawal and escape. The other conducts more slowly, but its signals persist, leading to the aching, burning pains of more serious injury. The signals pass through the spinal cord and into the brain, where they give us the perception of pain. It looks like a simple and automatic system, but pain may not always be what it seems.
I feel I'm a very, very fit person, and I can take pain, which now I can't take pain because it's, to me, the pain I feel now is I never felt before. And you try to explain to people how you feel, and they don't seem to understand, or they don't comprehend of what you're going through. You think, well, how can you have pain when the foot is not there? And so the pain I'm receiving, well, the pain I've got, is the foot. The foot is there continuously all the time, and my toes are actually clawed right over, and they are, to me, they're growing underneath the foot, and the top of the toes, if you like, there are actually burning. They really are red. You can actually see it in your mind, if you like. They are really red, and it feels like smoke's coming out of them because you just can't get hold of them to straighten them up, though much you'd love to, but you just can't do that.
Fred's foot, crushed in an accident, no longer exists, but the pain is as real as if his foot were still there. His description of pain is vivid, but for Fred, the painful foot exists only as an idea, as a phantom limb.
Where exactly do the first wrong signals start? Are they starting in what remains of the limb? That is a real possibility, because there are cut nerves sitting in that limb. They could be the origin of the input. That is one school, a peripheral origin, false signals being generated in cut nerves. I personally think that while that is part of the story, actually the problem moves centrally, at least into the spinal cord, where cells, having recognized that they are cut off from the periphery, have increased their excitability and are generating false signals.
If I couldn't feel the foot, that would please me 110%, because then I could get back to life again. Though, you got half a leg missing, to me, that's not the problem. To me, at the moment, is a pain, and nothing would please me more than get rid of that feeling.
Pain is, of course, dominating, so that I think you can see, looking at your own behavior or an animal's behavior, that there will be events associated with domination taking over the brain and saying, right, that as this pain grows, there is nothing more important than this. The rest of the world can go to hell, has gone to hell. I am now a pain person, totally monopolized by that.
When pain takes over, it can cease to inform, protect. It can dominate every aspect of daily life.
Go bring Bill to Grandma. Get hold of him.
Fran Brooks, pain person.
There's not hardly a minute that goes by that I don't feel some sort of pain somewhere. It strikes without warning. The real severe pain does. I have constant pain all the time. My back hurts, my shoulders hurt, my leg hurts. I call them my labor contractions. They are so sharp and so sudden that it just takes my breath away.
Here are cervical spine films.
John Lozier runs a pain clinic in Seattle. Every week, the unit accepts 5 new patients with long-term chronic pain. The technique is to work on the patient's minds to help them overcome their pain. Fran Brooks has been referred to him for treatment because there seems to be no physical explanation for her pain.
Joints well preserved, and I don't see any abnormality in the bone at all, no soft tissue masses. I really don't think these contribute in any way to our understanding of her pain.
Psychologist Wilbert Fordyce helps Lozier work with patients who continue to hurt even after they've healed. Patients whose pain doesn't fit into the simple picture of specific nerves and automatic responses.
You're going to have to devise some, as yet, unknown mechanism for explaining why an injury would continue to hurt years later, when all the evidence we have is that the body tissues heal within a few weeks.
Fran has come to Seattle for a 3-week stay at the clinic to try to alleviate her pain.
Patients who come to a program like this clearly are suffering.
Shoulders are hurting.
People will ask, is the pain real? That's a nonsense question. Of course the pain is real. The proper question is, why is the person suffering?
As fast as you can. Walk on down and back. On your mark. Get set. Go.
Day 1. The speed walking test, which will provide a baseline to measure the success of Fran's treatment.
Keep on going. Just as quick as you can.
Pain from an injury becomes chronic, usually because people overprotect themselves. They rest too much, they guard too much, they wait too long for healing. We call it disuse.
Fall down.
Looking good.
The second reason why pain may become chronic is because once the person begins to express the suffering, people around them overprotect them and encourage them to take it easy, so on.
All right. 50.6.
If you're moving freely, then other people can hardly behave toward you as if you were very sick. And it makes it easier then to avoid having other people reinforce sick behaviors or pain behaviors.
Arms overhead. Take a nice deep breath in and just reach on up. And exhale and relax on down. Let's
A combination of physical and behavioral therapy forms the core of the treatment. Both are directed towards reducing the patient's obsession with pain.
And switch on over. Cupcakes that you brought back. And let's switch directions, please.
So then after 2 or 3 weeks, and it didn't get better,
Then
then what was that like?
Frightening.
She's now halfway through the treatment.
Yes.
And
Yes.
got depressed.
They teach the patients to confront the influence that pain has had over their lives.
Terrifying.
And it seemed like then I hurt more and was more snappy at my children.
Okay. But when Fran was worried, it wasn't that her back or her shoulder was hurting more, but because she was worried, she suffered more.
Yeah.
That fair?
That's true.
Yeah.
And let's go down.
Well, I touched it.
All right. Good.
Hey, that's right.
And bend your knees and come on up. In fact, we've got a group of overachievers.
Hello.
Graduation day.
I come unshaved, you know.
On your mark. Get set. Go.
The last speed walk. Fran's pain has gone. Then was it just an invention? In a way, our entire perception of the world around us is invented by our brains. But the things that we see and hear are usually accurate reflections of physical signals impinging on our eyes and ears. Pain is quite different. A pinprick or a spark from a fire can hurt you, but the pain isn't in the pin or in the spark. It's in your mind. Fran Brooks had no physical reason to be in agony, but her pain was just as real as that caused by a pinprick or even by Sylvia's cancer. Encouragement and faith helped Fran and Sylvia. The mind has the power to conquer pain.
As a child, the most exciting thing that happens to you is the idea of going on point. Most teachers try to hold their over-gleeful children back until they're about 11. But it really is the most exciting time in a dancer's life. And you try on these lovely shiny shoes and you can't wait to get up there.
For Leslie Collier, principal dancer with the Royal Ballet in London, pain is the price she and all ballerinas pay for their profession. The shock and strain of ballet make all sorts of pain inevitable.
Perhaps more painful than anything are bruised toenails, which I suffer from at the beginning of every season. And this is, for me, a pain that can really go from the tip of the toe as high as the groin. And it's a sharp pain, and it's something one tends to want to pull away from. But if you can make yourself go into the pain, it sounds very masochistic, this, but if you can make yourself go into the pain, it will improve. When you're on stage, you have a lot to think about. It's not just empty, isn't dancing lovely, we're having a nice time up here. That's how it's meant to look. You're either in the character of the role, or you're thinking about the steps that you have learnt to do in the rehearsal room. Your mind is totally occupied. It's too busy to think of being in pain. In most ballets, I don't feel physical pain. My mind is in control of the situation. But there's just this one place in Swan Lake that I can't help but feel this pain in the calf. There's one particular step called a fouette, which is not my very favourite step. It's not very complicated. But in nearly every ballet that one does, you never have to do one fouette, you usually have to do a series. And in Swan Lake, of course, the series amounts to 32, which is not altogether wonderful. I've only really got to hear the fouette music of Swan Lake. I can be anywhere. I can be on the radio while I'm driving the car, and I can really get a pain in my calf. But I think I've danced for long enough to know that when one gets on the stage, pain disappears and Dr. Theatre takes over. I think nobody really should look at ballet and think, gosh, the poor dancer. The dancer should be artistic enough to make it look very simple, very easy, and should be in control.
To be in control of pain for the sake of an artistic performance seems far from the world of science. But Leslie Collier may be recruiting in the service of ballet a system in the brain inherited from our animal ancestors. In the heat of battle or the fury of the hunt, animals too need to suppress their responses to pain so that they can get on with the vital business of fighting or fleeing to preserve their lives. 20 years ago, scientists showed that electrical stimulation in the stem of an animal's brain suppresses pain as completely as morphine. There is a pathway of nerves, using chemical substances closely related to morphine, that projects down to each level in the spinal cord, where it literally interrupts the incoming pain signals. This system can be turned on, it seems, in situations where pain would be no help. And long ago, it was harnessed in the service of healing. For thousands of years, the Chinese have used acupuncture to treat disease. Its therapeutic value is still controversial, but its power to reduce pain is beyond doubt. During the Cultural Revolution, acupuncture was even employed instead of anesthetic during surgery. A single needle is the only thing between the patient and agony. It's twisted and vibrated for half an hour before they're ready to begin. This man is about to undergo major surgery for tuberculosis. He remains fully conscious during the long operation. He may have attributed the success of acupuncture to his faith in the thoughts of Chairman Mao, but we now know that the signals from the needle directly activate that pain-suppressing system in the brain.
The discovery of a system in the structure of the brain that can censor the pathway of pain gives anatomical reality to the power of mind over body. The courage of battle or the sports field, the determination to dance 32 fouettes or to run a marathon, all of them turn on this inbuilt pain-suppressing system. So does morphine and even acupuncture. Well, is it possible that some of the undeniable psychological benefits of medical treatment take advantage of that same pain-suppressing system in the brain?
Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, and see how Dr. Mayfield's famous Vitazone remedy works. Carrying his germ-destroying properties to every corner of the human system, ridding it of impurities, Dr. Mayfield's wonderful Vitazone remedy brings a new spring to your walk.
The imagination can work wonders. From voodoo to Vitazone, health may be influenced by something as intangible as belief. And quack remedies may have worked for reasons other than what was in the bottle.
Vitazone. Oh, I see a fine, intelligent young gentleman there. Oh, thank you, $1.
It's been suspected for a long time that the effectiveness of medical treatment depends partly on the patient's faith in it. This power of belief, the placebo effect, offers hope that the mind can heal the body, or at least reduce pain. John Levine has been studying just how the placebo effect works, and today he's going to assess its effectiveness. His subjects are young and healthy. They're about to have their wisdom teeth removed.
We need now or topical anesthetic.
They all receive anesthetic during the operation. But afterwards, only half are given post-operative anesthetic, and the rest get nothing but an inert saline solution to find out what's needed for the placebo effect to work.
The experimental setup that we have used includes two different kinds of conditions. One in which we want to get a maximum placebo effect, and one in which we want to get no placebo effect at all. In the situation in which we want no placebo effect to be seen, what we have had to do is to have a computer actually give the medication.
And I want you to sit down on this bed.
So the patient's intravenous line is hooked up to a computer which at some random time will give the medication to the patient.
So now you're hooked up to the machine. No one's going to know what it is or when you get it. None of us know anyway. Okay?
In fact, in today's experiment, both patients will receive only saline solution, no painkiller.
In the condition in which we want to have a maximum placebo effect, I would go in with my white coat on. I would have a stethoscope in my pocket. I would have the medicine drawn up in a big syringe, and I would make sure that the patient saw me administering the medication. How are you doing? I'm going to give you a shot now for the pain, and it'll take about 20 minutes for that to be able to produce its effect on the pain. So I wouldn't expect anything to occur too quickly, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the injection site on your IV.
Will the two patients, one ministered to by a caring doctor, the other by an unseen computer, experience different levels of pain? "20 minutes later, time for the patients to report on the amount of pain they feel.
Okay, Peter. No pain to worst pain ever.
Okay.
How much are you having now?
Let's take it here, Carol. It's getting close.
Since the last time, has it gone up, gone down, or stayed the same?
It's gone up a bit.
Okay, Joe. No pain to worst pain ever. Make one mark through that line as to how much pain you're having now. Okay, and since the last time, has the pain gone up, gone down, or stayed the same?
Pain has gone down.
So why this dramatic difference between the two?
I think the white coat in this culture as, say, a mask in an African culture or some other symbol represents to the patient that same image of a individual who has the power to provide a healing effect on them.
The pain-killing placebo effect, like the effects of acupuncture and morphine itself, seems to act through that pain-suppressing system. All three effects are blocked by drugs that interfere with transmission in this pathway. Trust in medical treatment is transformed into chemistry within the brain. Despite its appearance, this isn't a hospital. It's an accueil at Lourdes, a kind of reception centre for pilgrims. And most of the people who are wearing nurses' uniforms aren't nurses either. But it all adds up to an atmosphere of care and authority, which may really help people to deal with their suffering. That's why the Across Trust, the organisation I came with, sends groups of sick people to Lourdes, joining the millions who go there to share their suffering.
When we come with the cross, we don't know anyone, but by the time we get to Lourdes, we all know one another, and by the time it comes to the end of the week, we're all really fond of one another, real brothers and sisters. Blessing of the sick in the afternoon. They start off by the grotto. Everyone has a lighted candle. And we say the rosary, and we walk right round the rosary square. And it's really lovely. And if you go up to the basilica and look down, it is a wonderful sight. It's just another little bit of heaven. Well, it is a bit of heaven. It's very touching when you see people, cripples, and children, things like that. But you just pray for them all. And of course you see all the suffering that's in Lourdes. And you realise how lucky you are. I made a promise to Our Lady that every year she let me live, I will come back to Lourdes. It gets very hard with the fares going up every year, but I still manage it. I feel as if I'd let her down if I didn't come back every year as well. Anyway, I'd like to come back and say hello to her.
From Easter to mid-October, the procession of the Blessed Sacrament takes place every day. It's a focus of faith for all pilgrims to Lourdes, not just the overtly sick, but also those in remission and those who believe that they've been cured in the past. Many believe that their faith can help to cure them. Is it possible that belief or experience working through the brain can influence not only pain, but also the body's own systems of defense and repair? Could events in one's life switch on the immune system. Certainly they can reduce its activity.
The human mind is critical in determining how an event impacts on the body. It's the interpretation of the event that's critical, and the way in which the organism, whether it be an animal or human, interacts with that event, that's critical in determining impact on brain systems and physiology. One of the things I spend most time studying is the degree to which an organism has control over events which occur to it, and the wide-ranging effect on both brain and other organs.
Mayer studies the benefits of being in control by creating a situation in which an animal has no control. Here, an established colony of 2 rats is disrupted by an intruder.
When the intruder is initially introduced, there's a bit of exploration, and after a little bit, one of the 2 established males, generally the dominant of those 2, will attack the intruder. Some rats will give up very quickly and adopt the defeat posture, which is sort of like this.
The intruder is seldom injured in the fight, but by giving up, he's lost control of the situation. And that simple psychological shift from control to no control leads to physical changes which affect its health.
The total outcome of the situation, as far as physiology is concerned, is determined by the way the intruder perceives the situation. It's specifically under a situation where there is no control that you see the deleterious consequences of stress. You see ulcer formation, you see large steroid release, you see changes in metabolism, and consequently down the line you also see immune changes that are undoubtedly a function of these other changes.
Many recent experiments confirm that the state of mind can influence the immune system. First, nerve fibers connect the brain to the organs of the immune system, including thymus and spleen. Second, cells of the immune system are covered with receptors tailored for hormones released by the brain. They can reduce or enhance immune responses. This is an exciting new field of research that may one day throw light on the benefits claimed for Lourdes. The spring here was discovered by Bernadette Soubirous, the daughter of an out-of-work miller in 1858. She claimed that she'd seen the Virgin Mary standing in the grotto. Her experiences were the origin of the religious belief in the power of Lourdes.
My favourite place is the grotto at night when it's dark. Yeah, it's really nice. And it's then in the darkness, and you can imagine that when it happened that Bernadette was down there, you know, washing whatever she was washing, and Our Lady appeared. She wouldn't have got the shock of her life. But have you been down at night time? When it's pitch dark and around 1:30 in the morning, it's then there's not very many people there, and you can pray on your own. It's really good.
Bernadette's extraordinary experience didn't save her from a lifetime of suffering, but the millions of pilgrims who flock to Lourdes every year believe that their faith and the atmosphere of this place can help them. The apparition of the Virgin Mary said nothing to Bernadette about miracles, but just 2 weeks after the first appearance, a blinded stonemason who bathed his eye in the spring that Bernadette had discovered there found his sight immediately restored. Since then, Lourdes has been a place of miraculous cures.
Yeah, I do believe that Bernadette was down there, and the story of Lourdes is the apparitions of Our Lady in the grotto. I believe that truly. I pray a lot in England. It's not that I come to Lourdes first and pray for a remission. I get the remission before I come so I can come over, otherwise I won't be able to get here.
Erica isn't cured, but she says she did once feel God reaching out to her here.
It was like as if our Lord had put his hand out and took you under his ring, but it was a glimpse of a second. You can't explain it any more than that, and it was, I'm here, I'm a Catholic, I've done what I'm supposed to do, and you just think, oh, I can go back to England now, really happy.
And she's decided to devote her artistic skills to making religious glass.
Ecclesiastical design I want to go to, and I've got another year at college, and I hope I don't have another relapse, but I won't.
When is a cure a miracle? That's a question that the authorities at Lourdes have taken very seriously. In 1882, a panel of medical experts, now called the Bureau Médical de Lourdes, was set up to investigate claims of miraculous cures. In the 130 years since Bernadette saw the Virgin Mary, thousands of cures have been claimed, and 64 have been declared miracles. The list of diseases for which claims of miracles have been accepted has changed over the years, as medical science discovered its own cures for such illnesses as tuberculosis and polio. For many years, the authorities here have applied every skeptical test they can to the numerous claims. Only if no conventional treatment has been given can a miracle be declared. But what of the millions of pilgrims for whom there is no official miracle? Dr. Mangiapane is charged with applying the strict medical and scientific tests. I asked him if those many other pilgrims might benefit in some way.
Les pèlerins ressentent-ils en général un bien-être bénéfique?
Je pense qu'en dehors de ça, il y a des gens qui sont...
Well, there are people who think they're better, who think they're healed. For them, the mind plays the important role of helping them leave Lourdes, feeling better than maybe they really are medically.
de Lourdes mieux qu'elle n'était au point de vue infirmité. Et puis il y a des gens...
And then there are people who actually do get better.
C'est Dieu qui leur
So is it God who helps them get better without our being able to explain it?
Est-ce que c'est elles-mêmes qui
Or
se
do they heal
guérissent
themselves through their own
par
faith?
l'intermédiaire de leur croyance? Je pense que, disons, je vois pas pour
Well,
quelle raison.
I myself don't see how a cancer case like that recently of a young girl from Sicily, even with the presence of a community praying around her and with her conviction that God would help her, would have been able to get better if there hadn't been something else helping her, which we can't explain.
We can't yet explain the beneficial effects of faith. But we would have said the same about the placebo effect and acupuncture only 20 years ago.
You don't have to be a Roman Catholic to feel that Lourdes is special. But to my mind, much of its power comes from the pilgrims themselves. They share their suffering, their common purpose, their belief and their determination. Of course, the setting helps. The grotto, the chapels, the ceremonies, and even the religious souvenirs. But they're just a backdrop for the personal dramas that people act out as they fight disease.
And you don't have to be in Lourdes to have the faith to fight disease. Rachel Beale's confidence and courage came from within her. Stephen Greer studied her case.
It is very controversial, particularly in the medical profession, to accept even the possibility that mental processes could affect cancer. I think this is partly because doctors, we're all taught and have it drummed into us in medical school that there is a rigid division between the mind and the body, which of course is nonsense. We studied a group of 69 women with early breast cancer who had mastectomies, and we found, to our surprise, that the attitudes which they had correlated very highly with survival. The women who had an active attitude, namely fighting spirit, had the best outcome. They were twice as likely to be alive and well 10 years later than the women at the other extreme who showed helpless or hopeless attitudes, who seemed to be overwhelmed by their disease, even though, in fact, it was only early disease at that time.
In the biggest of all the towns, they lived a pastry cook. Do you know what a pastry cook is? It's a baker, really, just a baker. Only old-fashioned people call it pastry cooks.
Rachel Beales has fought the disease for a long time. She lost a breast to cancer 6 years ago.
Sam was helping his father to make pastry.
3 years ago, one of her lungs collapsed from the weight of a tumour, and she was told then that she had only 1 year to live.
Ooh, said Sam.
Recently, she's had 3 recurrences of the disease, but she started to teach. She's taken up sports. She's an example of what Greer means when he talks of fighting spirit.
I'm sure I would not be here now if I hadn't developed this absolute, total and utter determination that I personally was going to beat this thing and I was going to win.
Rachel Beales is part of Greer's latest study, designed to discover whether improving a cancer patient's attitude can prolong her life.
These are your most recent scans. If I could just remind you of how things looked back at the very beginning. If you remember, you had a complete collapse of your left upper lobe.
Yeah.
And there was disease on both sides.
Uh-huh.
And then in February of this year, when your problem came back again, you can see here are your 2 discrete metastases.
Uh-huh.
And now
Yeah.
in June, they're still there,
Yeah.
but they haven't got any larger.
Oh,
But I
that's
think
great.
the disease is under control. You're not cured yet, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's 4 months there.
So you think that's
I think
quite,
that is very encouraging.
The treatment uses a combination of psychological and physical methods, and it makes full use of accepted therapies.
I think you're crazy if you don't use conventional drug treatment. My goodness, you know, it works, and it's worked in my case. But, I mean, I don't just think that you are a machine. I think that you have got a body and a soul and a spirit, and that you've got to utilise all of these. And if you're cutting off the mind, which is a very powerful instrument within your body, you're losing a whole spectrum of what can help make you better. Because I feel very strongly that if you can give yourself a tension headache, or butterflies in the tummy, or cramps, or stiff shoulders, because you're worked up and uptight, why can't you use your mind, which is your mind making your body feel like that, why can't you use your mind to make your body feel good?
The attitudes towards cancer cannot be a cause of cancer. I don't believe that. And we cannot cure patients with psychological factors. But what we can do is to, firstly, to improve the quality of their lives, and we hope to provide evidence that we may, in some cases, prolong their lives to a certain extent, to increase duration of survival.
You need to keep a fighting spirit. You can't just fight cancer on and off. It's a very, very hard fight. And it's very exhausting. And you have to have a lot of support. And you have to have a lot of oomph. But I feel that my mind is helping me get better, and has helped me get better, and will help me get better. I'm not cured yet. I'm going to be, because I'm determined I'm going to be.
If faith can make you whole, I believe that science will one day explain the mechanism, just as it's told us about the control of pain. But you don't need to understand in order to benefit from belief.
Lourdes appeals to a basic need in human nature. Quacks and hypnotists, herbalists and faith healers, and the practitioners of conventional medicine all appeal to that same need, a need to believe that we're in control of our own destinies. Science can't yet give us a convincing account of the power of a fighting spirit, but at least we're beginning to think that there might be a real phenomenon here. Science isn't in the business of explaining miracles, but it may bring us an understanding of the way in which determination and faith can aid the process of healing.